Welcome to Empower Her Radio, the podcast for healthcare moms who want to break free from limiting beliefs, build unshakable confidence, and step into the truest expression of themselves, both personally and professionally. I'm your host, Corey Wynn. I'm a wife, a mom, a doctor of physical therapy, and a peak performance strategist. Working with highly motivated women to transform their lives and inspire those around them is what truly lights my soul on fire. Each episode, whether it's a solo session filled with actionable strategies or an inspiring interview with a woman who has overcome significant obstacles, is designed to leave you feeling worthy and confident in the value you have to offer everyone around you. I hope you walk away empowered and ready to take that next step to lead your life on purpose. Now, let's dive into today's show. Hey guys, I wanted to pop in real quick with a special offer today. Everything that I do here at Empower Her Radio and in my private coaching practice, Elevate and Empower, is to empower and equip women, specifically moms, with everything that they could possibly need to live their dream life. So I want to give you my dream life blueprint today that can help you get started with that. Just head to corywynn.com/dreamlifeblueprint and you can find that in the show notes. All right, now back to today's show. Oh my gosh, our guest today and I have been chatting off the air, and it's just such a good conversation. We had to go and get started. But let me introduce you to Traci Peterson. She is an international speaker, highly sought after trainer, and has spoken at over 23,000 people, performed in front of 100,000 in sports audiences. She's been a board-certified family nurse practitioner, founder CEO of Elevate Wellness and Aesthetics, and she's treated over 6,000 female patients. And her latest project, Be, a mother-daughter movement grounded in connection and protection, she cites that as her greatest accomplishment, is being a mother of 3 and very active children. So welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so excited to be here, Corey. I can't wait. We are like each other. So it's like the best conversation, the easiest conversation, and impactful conversation we'll have today.
Well, and I was just looking at some of your stats. 42% of women admitted never complimenting themselves. I grew up in that. I was that person. So tell me how that affects women and their daughters and everything that you're doing around that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It affects us from the moment that our eyes open until our eyes close at night, right? Because it's that internal dialogue. And that's really where all of this got started, was when I have 3 children. My daughter, my oldest, is now 11, but she was 9 at the time. She came to me, and I know your daughter is in this age, so you're going to be like, oh my gosh, yes, this sounds just like, what's your daughter's name again?
Eliza Jane.
Eliza Jane. So same age as Eliza Jane. She's sitting at the counter. I'm doing dishes, just regular after school setting, right? TV's on in the background. I'm doing dishes. And she goes, Mom, can we do woman lessons? And I was like, yeah, we can do woman lessons. Like, I don't know what that means. Like, but I'm a woman. I'm sure I could teach you and we could do lessons. And I asked her, Quinn, what does that mean to you? And she so thoughtfully, Corey, I'll never forget. She like sighed and was like, well, I need to learn how to put together an outfit. I need to learn to do my makeup, and I want to learn how to cook. And I was like, that is so sweet. And then my high performing, like, entrepreneur, nurse practitioner brain was like, as sweet as that is, I also feel a little bit sad. Mm-hmm. A little bit sad that that's her perception of what it means to be a woman, is what we look like and what we do, not really who we really are. Mm-hmm. And so I remember, I call those 1-minute moments. We have those 1-minute moments with our daughters specifically all the time, all the time, all the time. And I feel like our children are like hand selected for us to be our greatest teachers.
Yes. Every single day.
Don't you feel that way? Like every single day. It's almost like as a parent, my job is less about making them more like me and teaching them how to be an adult, and it's more them teaching me how to be more like them.
Right. Yeah.
Like how to be self-assured, how to be carefree, how to not care what people think, right? Where my little, 6-year-old wears a mismatched outfit. She wears a swimming suit most of the day. I am not kidding you. Her name is Felicity. She's 6 years old. She's in first grade, and she wears a swimming suit underneath her uniform every day. So she can just rip off her uniform, and she's just, it's October and she wears a swimming suit every day because she doesn't care what people think. She
I
doesn't.
love that so much. And that was something that was so hard for me to let go of. You know, I grew up in the South, so the little girls have their bows and their frilly dresses and the smocking and everything. And like, I just kept pushing for that. And I thought, you have to stop. You
Yeah.
have to stop because she needs to put on what makes her feel good. Has
Yes.
nothing to do with what I think, or should I still think that?
Yeah.
Kids
Yeah.
make you question everything that you have held as true or should be,
Yes.
and you like come up for air and you're thinking, I don't really agree with that anymore.
So true. So true. And what an opportunity, right? What
Mhm.
a gift to have these little individual people who come into this world with their own unique divine gifts. And our job is not to make them these mini versions of ourselves.
Mhm.
It's to help them remember who they are and whose they are and who God created them to be. It's like we were, as a parent, we're their little mentors, like they're
Mhm.
mentors of self-acceptance, self-discovery,
Uh-huh.
understanding that they are so divinely created, and to celebrate those gifts. And that's really kind of what this all came back to, is I was like, I looked at it, this is a mirror, right? These 1 minute moments are mirrors where we can say, and in that moment, I thought, is that all that I'm modeling for her?
Mhm.
Is how
Yeah.
to do my makeup, how to put together a rockin' outfit, which, I do love a good outfit. And like how to cook. It's like, is that all that I'm modeling for her? What
Mhm.
do I really want her to know, that what it means to be a woman? One
Mhm.
who's self-assured, self-confident, but not confident in the way that the world sees confidence.
Uh-huh.
Because I've found, as a high performing, educated woman, right,
Right.
who has a lot of accolades, right? And that the world would tell you, wow, Traci's got it all together, right?
Uh-huh.
She's
Yeah.
checking all the boxes.
Yep.
But what I know, Corey, is that some of the women that seem outwardly the most confident, the most self-assured, they are actually some of the most insecure people.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, like, some of that is learned.
Yeah.
Most of that is learned and modeled. And I feel like, as moms, we have to be really careful, because moms, you and I, we are so well intentioned in our mothering and how we're doing life. But the most well intentioned mothers, we inadvertently project our insecurities onto our daughters.
Mhm. I remember, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. And I was just going to say, and if we're not careful, and if we're not personally developing, if we're not working on ourselves and developing ourselves, still, even at 42 years old, still developing myself into
Mhm.
who God created me to be. If I'm not personally developing, then and they are going to be doomed to repeat the patterns of my past.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if I struggled with self-criticism, which I have, if I struggled with disordered eating, which I have, if I struggled with negative self-talk, which I have,
Mhm.
they will repeat those same patterns unless I'm willing to do the work on myself, and to beautifully, and how we've designed it in Women Lessons is to develop personally side by side with our daughters. So we're not having to leave them to go work on ourselves.
Right.
We get to do it side by side. That's the goal.
100%. 100%. Because I mean, I was just talking about this the other day. I watched my mom give and give and give and give. And I can't think of one time growing up that she took time for herself,
Yeah.
except the fact that she got up at 4:30 every morning to have an hour of quiet time. That
Yep.
was it. And
Yep.
I can tell you right now, I am not a 4:30 in the morning person. So the more I
Nor
can
am
teach
I.
my daughter, you know, it's okay to want to take a step back. And I heard something more recently that the things that you can love absolutely from the bottom of your heart can also cause burnout. They're
Mhm.
not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Just, you may not love every part of all of this. And the more that we can teach our daughters, especially, that they don't have to give of all of themselves. They don't
Yes.
have to not take care of themselves. And,
Totally.
and even now, Eliza Jane's like, Mommy, you're gonna go for a walk without me? I'm like, yeah, you're gonna be home with Daddy. It's okay. I'm gonna go. It's fine. Like, you need
Yep.
to do that. I'm gonna take some time for myself. She's like, oh, okay. I
And
never
so,
heard my mom say
oh,
that.
and so good for you. Because look at what, like, this is the thing, is I think I call it, self-care is not selfish, right? We've
Right.
heard that. And so
Right.
then what is it? Well, I call it being a selfist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are a selfist. You should want to be the absolute best version of yourself. Because I think oftentimes women and mothers specifically, we feel like, because we've seen it, right, that we
Yeah.
have to sacrifice, and we're rewarded for that. It's
Right.
expected of us in society, quote unquote, to sacrifice ourselves for our families and for our children. What? Like,
Yeah.
when you really sit back and think about that, doesn't mean that we don't make them a priority.
Right.
That doesn't mean that we don't take care of their needs. But we also have to realize that in order to be our best self, we have to be a selfist. We have to put ourselves first. And I'm a Christian, and so in the Bible it says, love God, love your neighbor, and we usually stop there.
Mm-hmm.
There's one more part. It's like, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yep.
As yourself. We have to love ourselves. And how do you show somebody that you love them? You spend time with them. You prioritize them, right? So we have to prioritize ourselves. And we teach something in woman lessons. It's called energy generators. And I'll make sure that I give this to you so you can put it down in the show notes, and I'll just give
Yeah,
it to
absolutely.
give it to your audience for free. But it's like, how do we know what those values are? Because everybody's is different. And here's the thing: is sometimes women, most of the time women, we compare, right? We see things on social media, or we're talking to a friend and we compare our values to someone else's values or what we see. And so when we're living in that state of comparison, we internalize and personalize everything
Mm-hmm.
versus keeping it as an observation. So we
Mm-hmm.
teach in woman lessons for these mothers and these daughters between the ages of 9 and 12 that we want to stay in observation. I can observe that, Corey, your priorities are, you love these friendships, right? Like, friendship means so much to you and it's going to be one of your top priorities. And then maybe it's your family, and then it's your health. Well, for me, I know that my health, mentally, physically, and spiritually, is number one for me.
Mm-hmm.
My health. If I don't take care of those things and prioritize that in my calendar and in my day, I don't have enough to get to my to my second value, right? And I don't have enough to get to my third.
Right.
And I think it's okay to honor the fact too, Corey, that no two women are different. Or I mean, no two women are the same, rather,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No two women are the same. Everybody is different. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to honor that. We have to honor that. And I know it's easy to say, stop the comparison, but it's like, listen, comparison's going to be there. So
Mm-hmm.
what do we do instead? And what do I want instead? Hey, when I feel comparison, I'm just going to choose to move into a state of observation.
Yep.
Oh, observation keeps everything external. I can look at Corey and I can say, that works really well for her. I am so excited for her. I
Right.
don't internalize it. I don't personalize it. But in this energy generator guide, it helps you walk through questions. It gives you questions so you can identify your top 3 priorities. But we don't stop there, because most people have a basic understanding of like what they value and their priorities. But then
Mhm.
we move to the next step, which is auditing your calendar.
Uh-huh.
And we have to go through, if I want to see your priorities, I look at your calendar,
Right.
right?
100%.
100%. Whether we like it or not, it's almost
Yep.
like, oh, like pull back the curtain, like look at
Uh-huh.
the room, like what's going on. So we talk about auditing your calendar. And then the next step is about communicating. Like it's communicating what those values are to the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
These are principles that moms need to be able to walk through and feel confident in, right? Because then we're going to teach you how to set boundaries around those, but not
Right.
just set them, but keep them.
Right.
And the keeping part is the hard part.
I was going to say, because those are two very different things.
Totally, totally different things. And much of that keeping and maintaining those priorities comes back to self-worth, knowing that you're worth it. And number two, it's the conversation. It's the communication behind it. So we walk through this whole series. It's 5 steps. And I'll give it to you guys for free. Literally, it's
Thank you so much.
spectacular. It's spectacular. But the conversation piece is key, because moms and daughters, you can go through this with your daughter. Maybe go through it on your own so you get familiar with it. But then your 9 to 12-year-old, they love this. They're like, where is my energy coming from? What are those things that pour back into me? And if they realize that none of the things are bringing them joy, because maybe, just maybe, mom and dad's priorities or mom and dad's goals for them are trumping what that child really feels innately is the best thing for them. So a conversation needs to happen.
Well, and I
So
love that so much, because you're teaching them at a young age to trust themselves, which I'm going to be 40 in a month, and it's taken me till maybe the last couple of years to really step back and say, okay, but what feels good to me?
yep.
What feels good to me? Not what everybody else would do.
Yep.
And
That's
I don't
exactly
want
it.
to ever have her lose that.
No. And Corey, that is true confidence, is true self-trust.
Yep.
Because I think, and my whole mission is to help mothers, high performing mothers and their daughters, to look inward and upward for their validation.
Right.
That's how you silence the self-critic. That's how you stop the self-judging. That's how you silence all of that. Because I think so quickly we want to ask our husband, ask our friend, ask social media, ask Google, ask every single other person besides the one who knows. And that's you.
Right. Right.
And oftentimes that comes just, from a history of like people pleasing,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. We've all been there. We've all been there. And so that's one of the tips that I talk to the moms that I work with and that I help is anytime that your child, no matter what the age, looks to you for validation, turn the question back on them and ask them first.
Right.
So if my 6-year-old Felicity, who I was talking about, comes out and she's like, what do you think of my outfit? And I'm like, what do you think of your outfit? She's like, I love it. I'm like, how does it make you feel? She's like, oh, it makes me feel strong or fast or fun or whatever. Right. And then I can add mine. I think you're right. Right. It's promoting that self-trust, that inner dialogue. Well, what do I think of this? Because I think a lot of women get to our age, right? Late 30s and 40s. They're like, what do I even like? What do I even want?
Exactly. The number one question that I ask my clients, but what do you want? And they're like, well, but my husband needs, and my kids need. No. What do you want? And then it's like crickets.
I know.
And they're like, nobody's asked me that. And are really like, I don't know. I don't know what brings me joy. I don't know what I like. I don't know.
Yep.
And then it's this peeling back of layers, because they may have given up something that they absolutely loved, or the things that they used to do might not resonate with them anymore, and kind of grieving that, like, well, that used to be fun, but I don't really love that anymore.
Yep.
And just again, turning inward.
Yes.
Where so many of us have looked externally for
Yes.
all of our validation.
Yes. And it's also, I agree with you completely. It's also giving yourself the permission that you've evolved.
Yep.
Like you've evolved as a woman. You are not the same person that you were 5 years ago. You are
And
not
thank
the same.
goodness.
Thank goodness,
Love
right?
that woman and bless her and move on.
Right? Bless and release her. Like be grateful for that season that you walked through, right? But I agree with you completely. And I feel like as women and as moms specifically, the greatest gift that we can give our children is the gift of a mother who believes in herself
Mm-hmm.
and who goes after her dreams.
Yes.
Because at some point, we stop.
Yeah.
And so, what is that doing? That's reinforcing that you no longer dream once you have kids.
Right.
You essentially no longer what you need or what your desires that God placed in your heart, they don't matter anymore.
Uh-huh.
So then what are our children going to grow up and do? The exact same thing.
Right.
We say when they're little, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you do? What impact do you want to make? Right? Like, what do you want to be? What mark do you want to leave?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you can be anything that you want to be. But when does that stop?
Yeah.
I think it stops when the model stops.
Right.
And oftentimes for a lot of us, the model stopped once our mothers had children.
Mm-hmm.
And we also like, again, that's where the praise comes from, right? The praise comes from self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it. I don't buy it. I unsubscribe to it.
Yeah.
And subscribe
I
to
love
it.
that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, all of our girls, they want to be pretty, they want to be beautiful, and in ensuring that they know that they are those things at baseline. And I don't remember who said this, but I've adopted it. She said, I put on fancy clothes and fancy makeup. I'm beautiful always. And so I have started saying, oh, do you want to be fancy today? That's cool.
Yeah.
You know that you're already beautiful. I'm fine if you
That's
want to be fancy. And
love that.
it's so different
Yeah.
because I didn't grow up hearing my mom love herself.
Yeah.
And I am desperate to make sure that my daughter hears those things.
Yeah.
And we're all different shapes and sizes, and we're beautiful.
Yep.
And the moment that you can step into a room believing in yourself,
Yep.
I don't care what anybody else thinks.
Yep. That's all. That's literally all that you need
Mm-hmm.
is the confidence to know that when you walk into a room, you don't need anybody to tell you anything.
Right.
That you don't need them to tell you that you're beautiful. You don't need to tell them anything. You just already intrinsically know.
Yeah.
Even if you are done up or done down or whatever it is, because it's what you want and what you wanted that day. So I love that. And I think I'm going to steal that. Like you're beautiful at baseline, right? It's
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
that's your baseline. It just is.
Well, and
And
that came about so much with when I was working as a health coach specifically. It was this, oh, you're beautiful now because you've lost weight. And it's like, no, those two things don't have anything in common.
yeah.
And being able to step out of that and teach our daughters that beauty comes from within. And I know that that's such a cliche, but it's so true.
Oh, it's so true. And Corey, that reminds me, it's so true. And it reminds me of what a challenging topic, unfortunately because it's an opportunity, that talking about our bodies is it's a challenging layered topic.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was going through and as I was creating these woman lessons, and I was like, what is it that I want to teach my daughter to be truly confident?
Right.
And I was going through and I had like mastered a lot of these, right? There's 7 of them. And I was like, okay, it's this. And I want to teach her this. And I want to teach her this. And I was like, I feel like I'm missing one. And the The one that I was missing was the one that I had the hardest time with, that I truly didn't feel like I had mastered. And that was the woman lesson is you are more than your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally get the chills even thinking about it. And
Me too.
I vividly remember one day waking up and my eyes pop open. And the first thing that I do is I lift up my shirt to look at my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I look at my stomach that morning after, I know if I was good the day before or if I was bad the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I made good choices or I made bad choices. And I looked at my stomach and immediately all of the negative, like, you lazy, you have no willpower.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are again, like, you're disgusting, like all of these things. And I remember standing up, walking by my body length mirror, doing the same thing. And I remember almost stopping in my tracks and saying, Trace, you would never say this about Quinn.
Right.
You would never say these things about your daughter. You would never let one of your friends say these things to themselves. So why is it okay that you are?
Mm-hmm.
You are so much more than your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I had to like tackle it. Like I really needed to tackle it because this relationship and loving my body at every single stage, no matter what decisions I made the day before, goes all the way back, Corey, to when I was 15 years old. And I remember walking up to my mom and saying, Mom, I have a dance in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I want to feel confident in my dress.
Uh-huh.
What do I need to do? And God bless my mom, and I love her, and I have no malice against her, right? She was just doing the best she could with the resources that she had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, well, Trace, I can make bigger salads. And I was like, okay. And I went on my first diet.
Mm-hmm.
Corey, I was 115 pounds when I went on that first diet.
Mm-hmm.
And yep, I lost some weight for my dance. And that was a learned pattern that my mom learned from her mom, who just continuously yo-yo dieted, right? And anytime an event would come up, they'd stop eating or they'd eat clean or they'd eat good or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
And then they were confident. And it just started this cycle, 20 years of disordered eating patterns. And disordered eating patterns isn't just, eating too much or eating too little. It's the hyper focus orthorexia, like hyper focus on being hyper healthy and exercising like crazy, right? And there's just 75% of women have disordered eating. 75%. And I was like, you know what? No, I am not going to raise another generation of a 75%er. I'm not going to raise another generation with disordered eating. So what do? I can't say to her, don't have disordered eating. You're beautiful at every size. It's not just what we speak, but it's what they see.
Yeah.
It's what they see every day. And so I knew that if she wasn't going to repeat my patterns, I had to change myself and I had to evolve, right? And so I did that, and I did the thing that I was super, super scared to do, which I think we all know as women what we need. We all know that thing that we're scared of, or the thing that we fear, or we all know that thing that's going to get us to that next level. Maybe it's that next level of self-love. Maybe it's that next level of true confidence, whatever it is. And there's no way around it.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it. You can't go around it. You can't go over the top. You have to bust through that gosh dang thing that's sitting right in front of you. And for me, I knew I needed to gain weight. I knew I needed to, in a controlled way, do a build. Like I wanted to build muscle and I wanted to eat more food. I wanted to no longer have good foods and bad foods. and all of those things. So I did that. And, you know, there's a big, long story behind that. Just my goal was not, which it had been so many times before, a body fat percentage, right? Like, oh, I want to be lean. That was my goal for like the longest time, right? And for me, this last round, it was, I want to learn to love myself at every stage. Love me, love myself, no matter what the outsides look like, because we are so much more than our bodies. So we teach that to these girls, to these moms, in a really beautiful, like, metaphorical way, with a vase and flowers, right? And our bodies are just the vessel.
Right.
Different shapes, different sizes, serves the same purpose for everybody, right? And so it's just a super, super important thing that we not only teach our girls but model. And it's big, and oh my gosh, can you imagine a world where every single woman knows that they are more than their body, like that their spirit and who they are developing into and how they're adding value to people and the good that they're doing in the world means more than what they look like or what size they are or how they look in a picture? Could you imagine?
I just want to pinpoint something that you said right there too, and really bring it back around, because as high performing, high achieving women, we still continue to like look at each other and compare, or can compare. And what you just said, we all have struggled or have had challenges with exactly the same thing. Lack of self-worth, self-doubt, lack of confidence. That can happen if you're a size 00 all the way up to, I don't know, anything.
Yep.
It levels all of us out. And
Yes.
I will never forget, a friend looked at me years ago and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you have it all together." And I thought, don't pull the curtain aside.
Yep.
I'm glad that it looks like that on the outside, because that is not true.
Yep.
And the more that we can be vulnerable and authentic in that space, you realize how many people you relate to.
So true.
And oh my gosh, I can imagine that world, because we're both working toward it. We're both doing that for our daughters.
Yes. Yes. And that, I don't want that to fall short on your listener, that your influence absolutely matters. Like it absolutely matters in your home. It absolutely matters in your sphere of influence.
Right.
It absolutely matters in your community. It's like, it starts with one. It starts with you, and it starts with me. And then it just ripples and it grows. And if we are going to change the way that women think about themselves, the way that women talk about themselves internally, it starts with you and it starts with me. So don't underestimate your value and your influence. And you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to take the next right step.
And you don't have to be an influencer to do it. Just like
Heck
you just
no.
said, you start in your own home. You start with yourself. And I heard somebody say a while ago, if you don't take care of your body and your mind, where will you live?
Yep.
And I thought, oh, that's huge, because
Yep.
nobody else is going to do it for you, and they can't.
Right.
We can want these things for other people as badly as we want them,
Yes.
until we recognize that we're important enough to have it for ourselves. Doesn't matter.
Exactly. Exactly. And honestly, like, I'm so glad that you said that, because going back to the metaphor of the vase, which is your vessel in your body, right? And then the water, we talk about the living water. It's like, if you don't change that water, we all know when we get like the flower arrangements at the store and like the leaves are in it and it gets moldy and mildewy, right? It like lasts for 2 days and then everything dies. So
Right.
for constantly changing that water and refreshing our water, which is our relationship with God, it's talking to him, it's asking him, it's that connection that keeps the flowers, your spirit, looking beautiful. And if things are no longer serving your spirit, right? And the things that make you dynamic and unique, like your humor and, your goodness and those divine gifts that we talk about and owning those divine gifts. If things are no longer serving you, you can just pluck them out, right? Like just
Right.
kind of get rid of them, add something else, learn a new skill, right? Get a new hobby, whatever it is. But I love that you brought it back to, we do have to take care of our body. So one of the principles we teach is investing in your vessel.
Mm-hmm.
We need to invest in your vessel because I think some of the quote body positivity oftentimes can be a little bit damaging because we want to make sure that healthy looks different in all bodies.
Right.
Healthy
100%.
looks different. Healthy is not a size. Healthy
Right.
is not a certain weight, but we do want to make sure that we have health.
Right.
And so we want to invest in our vessel because we want to take care of that vase, because if it cracks, we can't serve God's purposes. It's not going to be a very good house for our spirit if it's cracked and it's leaking. We can't do God's work. We can't have a beautiful earthly experience and fulfill the measure of our creation the way that we want to if our flowers are sitting in a broken vase.
We can't be the mothers and the spouses that we ultimately could be and show up in the way that we want to show up if we haven't first taken care of ourselves. If we're
Exactly.
sick, and I mean, for a while I was having migraines and I just remember thinking, I do not want to be the mom who's laying on the couch,
Yes.
missing out
Yes.
for whatever reason. Now,
Yeah.
and not that you don't get sick, things don't happen,
Of course.
but by and large, taking care of yourself first allows you to go and do all those amazing things.
Absolutely. Absolutely does. And I feel like, and don't you feel, maybe you can corroborate on this. I feel like when I'm making the healthiest choices food wise, nobody's perfect. I believe in 80-20, 80% whole food, 20% soul food. It was my birthday yesterday. And like I had some candy and I had like a donut and I had the things, it's like soul food. It's good. But when I'm making healthy choices that are in alignment with who I know that I am and who I know God created me to be, I have more of a connection to Him.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not moving my body, if I'm not, making the healthiest choices consistently, that signal gets staticky. And it's almost like I'm not quite on the right frequency. It's like I'm in between stations. So it's like I can't hear His voice. I can't hear His influence as clearly and as crisply as I want to. And so when sometimes those things are dialed in, again, within reason, we're not talking perfection here.
Right.
Because perfection we misconstrue and we misunderstand as women, especially. Perfection actually in Hebrew, the Hebrew word for it actually means whole. So what we're looking for is wholeness. We're looking for a completeness. And I believe you can't have that wholeness, you can't have that completeness or that perfection without God. And so if the frequency is staticky, if it's not clear and we're disconnected from God, we're always going to feel short. We're always going to feel incomplete. We're always going to be looking to the world for our validation. We're always going to be looking for our accolades and our accomplishments to fill us and to fulfill us. But the only thing that can truly fulfill us and make us feel whole is when we know who we are, we know whose we are, we have that proper connection so that we can go and use those divine gifts that He gave us to go and literally change the world. That's what I believe.
So good. So good. It's not just one thing. It's all of those things. Mind, body, spirit, all of it. We can't have any of this without all the pieces.
Agreed.
Oh my gosh. I want to make sure that people are able to get in touch with you. And thank you so much for being willing to share all of your wisdom with us. So tell us, how can we get in touch with you?
Yes, the best way would probably be through Instagram. So the Instagram for the mother-daughter movement and for Woman Lessons is called at Mother Daughter Movement. And then my personal Instagram is at tpete. And that's what I just want to say. And we'll make sure that energy generator is in the show notes, and everything is clickable for you. But if you're feeling moved upon, like, dang, I loved one thing that she said, or dang, I know that my daughter needs this. Heck, I know I need this. Reach out to me like right now. I manage my own social media. And so connect with me. Even if Woman Lessons and our retreats is not the best fit for you, that's okay. Maybe it's our podcast, Woman Lessons. Maybe it's something else, and I can refer you off to the right direction, because I've been connected with a lot of really good people who care about women and who care about their daughters and that next generation that we're raising. So reach out. Don't wait. Don't sit on it. Take immediate action, because I would love to connect with you. I would love to help you and your girls. So definitely go to Instagram. You can also go to tracipeterson.com. Traci's with an I, Peterson is with an O-N. So tracipeterson.com. And that has all the information, because we're doing a retreat coming up November 1st and 2nd out here in Utah. We'd love to see you guys. We have people flying in, so we would love to see you in person.
Yay! Oh, so good. Thank you so much for everything today.
You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to today's show. If this episode resonated with you, I would truly appreciate a 5-star review. Your feedback is so important to me. Additionally, if today's topics have sparked a desire for more in your life and you're unsure about the next step, I have a special offer for you. I'm offering a free call to explore how my high-level coaching and strategizing can help you gain clarity on your goals, prioritize what is most important to you, and refocus on yourself in the process. Simply head over to correywin.com/free call. That's www.coreyWinn.com/free call. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.